here today to talk to Michol Dalcourt, the creator of the ViPR, about loaded movement training. So what have you got for us today, Michol?
So Pete, let's start off with what we call a tilting pattern. Let's get your feet nice and wide. We're going to use the ViPR as a way to kind of load and drive movement.
Okay.
And you're doing a good job by facilitating that motion through the hip complex. So this tilting pattern occurs in the lateral angulation. And really what we're doing here is we're facilitating mobility and positional stability through the body. So one would normally go through about 10 repetitions. Now what you're doing here is you're varying the handprint pattern to open up a little bit more of the chest. So that's a great variation to get more mobility through the upper body.
Yeah, I like to talk about the hips because sitting all day,
right?
You know, sitting in traffic.
Yeah,
man, my hips get really tight before I work out. So
exactly.
Way to open them up.
And a lot of athletes are nice and tight. And a lot of clients are nice and tight through the hips. So this is a way to foster mobility and stability at the same time. So from here, what we could do is pick the ViPR up.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is pick it up into a two-handed neutral position, and you're going to go through a repeated lunge pattern.
Gotcha.
And you're going to shift it from side to side.
Okay. So you want me to go to the side?
Yep, exactly.
Oh, wow.
So what we're doing again here is a shifting pattern. We're moving mass through a field of gravity as opposed to just simply against it. And you're opening up the lateral chain of structures of the body, trying to get the lateral abdominals and all the fascia and all the muscle mobilized. That's it. So again, that's more of a pure shift, Pete, that we're doing here.
And that means what? Shifting is what?
Shifting is described as moving a mass through a field of gravity. Okay. Normally we lift stuff in the gym. We move stuff against a field of gravity. This is different, and this kind of mimics.
That's tougher. That's a lot tougher.
And that's what we do in real life, Pete, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So when we do stuff in real life, we pick up mass, we lift it, but then we shift it somewhere. We move it through a field of gravity. So that would be reflective of this.
And what was the next exercise?
So let's actually add a different load. So we're using the 6 kg right now. Let's move up to something different. Let's go to the 10 kg.
Okay.
And I'm going to have you hold this in an offset grip.
Gotcha.
So you're going to have one hand on the outside and the other hand kind of on the tube itself. You're going to lunge.
Hand to hold options with this, meaning that can change the load up quite a bit.
Yeah, we've got 46 different ways to grip the ViPR.
Okay, cool.
So this would be one that asymmetrically loads the body. In this case, you're going to lunge towards me.
Okay.
And concurrent to that, you're actually going to lift this up like you're Usain Bolt finishing the race.
Okay.
So again, we're loading the abdominal wall. And I like the fact that you're loading through the hips. So Pete's really moving well through the hip complex, keeping the spine nice and tall. And what this is teaching is your hips to go in one direction, Pete, and your hands to go in the other direction.
I can really feel the abdominal because everything that's keeping me stable is between the pelvis and the rib cage.
Right, exactly right. So this is a great full body, but kind of core exercise for strength and positional mobility.
The other side.
There you go. Okay, perfect. So we use this a lot with athletes, just in order to get them to get their pelvis to go in one direction, their arms to go in the other, because that would reflect the nature of loading that you might see in sport.
Ooh, that is tough, man. Only 10 kilograms, huh?
Yeah, and so when we lift mass and we increase the leverage, it becomes a lot different. So mass and weight are two different things, as we know. So next thing we're going to do is grip the ViPR on the tube itself. Yep. And you're going to go from a loaded position here where it's between the legs. You're going to bring it up to overhead. You're going to go through a side lunge and then drive it right towards the camera. That's it. Perfect.
Oh, that's tough.
And then down. Come back up, lunge in, drive it forward and back. And again, Pete, once we've driven it forward, we've increased the leverage of the mass, making it a lot more difficult, in this case, for the posterior chain.
I was about to say, everything in the backside is lighting up.
Yeah.
It's a great booty exercise.
It's great for the glutes, great for even the anterior or the forefoot too.
Yeah.
Getting those feet nice and strong, and then the scapula nice and strong as well. Another thing we like to do with athletes and clients is what we call a cylinder lift. So I'll give you the 12 kg right here.
Okay.
And again, this is going to be different than a 12 kg back squat or front squat because the mass is distributed differently. So we're going to start with a single handle facing forward, and I'm going to have you just drive through the legs and summate forces as you work yourself down the tube. Now, obviously, the lower you get on the ViPR, the more difficult it becomes.
Yeah, this is tough.
So this is a hand strength, shoulder strength, trunk strength, leg strength exercise.
I really feel my grip working with my hips.
Now, if we wanted to increase that, as you squat down, just bring it forward more to increase the leverage. There you go.
Oh, man, that's not hard. That's not easy. That is tough.
Yeah, there you go.
That's much tougher than just doing a regular front or back squat.
Yeah, perfect.
And that's only 12 kilograms?
Yeah, and so with leverage, you increase the weight, right? It's like doing a lateral raise with, a significant amount of weight and then heightening the weight, but decreasing the leverage. It's about the same for the shoulder.
Where'd you come up with the concept of loaded movement training?
Well, we actually looked at what farm kids did. And the sense that farm kids were always stronger than city kids, and asking ourselves, why is that? Why do they never follow a periodized structure? and they never go to the gym to lift weight, and yet they're stronger. They're stronger in their grip, they're stronger in terms of their body. And one of the reasons why is this concept known as loaded movement training. They're lifting mass all the time at different speeds, at different angles, with different loads. And so that variability and that uncommon pattern of loading actually creates a more ubiquitous effect through the entire body, where they get more what's called shape stability.
So is this going to be one of the biggest trends coming forward, is the loaded movement training and using offset equipment like the ViPR?
I think it's something that's going to take its rightful place. I really do. You know, we may call it a trend, but it's really taking its rightful place in terms of linear load patterns are fantastic. It's been researched for 50 years. Loaded movement has been anecdotally studied for hundreds and thousands of years, but really more research is being devoted to the theme of variability, fascial loading, you know, how it's laid down along lines of stress, and why we do what we do in terms of loading mechanics to elicit those reactions. And so, you know, it's items like this, it's the concept of loaded movement that will take its rightful place alongside of other
changing up
modalities.
positioning, holding something differently makes the exercise so much tougher.
And there is a very much a physiological rationale behind that.
Cool, well, appreciate your time. Thanks, Michol.
Yeah, thanks, Pete.